Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be reading a few chapters of this amazing book called Cara the Class Clown by Lydia di Giulio, Bridget di Giulio. I hope you enjoy it. Chapter 12, A Messy Prank. Sneaking away from the group unnoticed, Cara soon found a large rubbish bin that was located on the street corner. She carefully climbed inside the bin and saw that it was filled with enough food scraps to feed her entire class. Cara flapped her wings in delight. She scuttled around inside the bin in search of her favourite foods and had a feast. But just as she could not eat another bite, Cara faintly heard what sounded like her name being called from a distance. Peering over the edge of the bin, she watched intently as her teacher and classmates approached. "Cara! Cara! Where are you?" they called out anxiously. "I'm over here," she replied excitedly as an idea suddenly popped into her head. Quickly scuttling around inside the bin, she found an open sacket of tomato sauce. Cara grinned as she positioned it over the edge of the bin, carefully balanced it like a seesaw. "Cara! Cara! Where are you?" they called out again, desperately trying to find her. "Here I am," she answered, chuckling to herself. But just as they had all gathered around the bin, Cara flew up into the air and landed with a thud onto the edge of the tomato sauce sacket, causing it to suddenly spurt out like a fountain. Peeking over the bin, Cara saw that all eyes were firmly fixed on her. Poor Mrs. Constance was covered in thick red sauce, as were many of the others in the group. Cara was absolutely delighted. "I thought that you all might like to try the sauce. Isn't it delicious?" she said in between tears of laughter. But whilst climbing onto the edge of the bin to get a better view, Cara accidentally slipped on a bit of the sauce and fell straight back into the rubbish bin. Smirking, Clarabelle shouted, It serves you right, Cara," whilst the rest of the class giggled. Mrs. Constance was furious as she tried to rub some of the sauce out of her eyes, but without much success, and glaring up at the bin with bright red eyelashes, she yelled, "Right, that's it. Wipe that smile off your face, Cara. I should have known that you'd be behind a prank like this. You've just gone too far this time. Get out of that bin and come down from there at once. It's after school detention for you, young lady, for the next 2 weeks. And don't think that your parents won't find out about this little practical joke of yours," she warned as she brushed more of the tomato sauce off her forehead. Cara casually crawled out of the rubbish bin with wearing a slight grin on her face and trailing behind the others. She headed back to school. But just as the class had walked past a large manicured garden, Cara stopped suddenly whilst the others continued on without her. Wearing a huge grin on her face, Cara spotted a garden sprinkler nearby. She headed towards the tap and carefully climbed her way up until she had reached the top. "Help! Please help me, Mrs. Constance. I'm stuck up here and I don't know how to crawl down," yelled Cara, who was trying her hardest to be as convincing as possible. "Cara, what on earth are you doing up there?" replied Mrs. Constance. I'm coming, Cara, and quickly turned to face the class. She said, come on, everyone, we have to turn back and help Cara. But just as they had approached the garden, Cara quickly turned on the tap, which was connected to the sprinkler. Everyone panicked, screaming and running in different directions as they got an unexpected spray. Cara couldn't stop laughing. She was laughing so hard that tears were rolling down her cheeks and onto the ground. I thought that you all needed a shower. Just look at how clean everyone is now, Mrs. Constance said, Cara smirking. Aren't I thoughtful? All of the little cockroaches giggled except for Mrs. Constance, who was not amused. How dare you turn that sprinkler on and make us all soaking wet, Cara? She screamed as she exploded in anger. I have seriously had enough of your practical jokes, young lady. You're not being funny, Cara. You have made another very poor choice. Come down from there at once, she ordered. Staring at the class, she said, No, don't laugh, everyone. You're just encouraging her. When they had arrived back at school, Cara said to the teacher, beaming, That was the best excursion ever. Thank you for taking us, Mrs. Constance. Glaring furiously at Cara and shaking her head in disgust, Mrs. Constance was unable to even utter a single word in response. Chapter 13. Scott No Mates. In the afternoon, all of the little cockroaches in Cara's class had sport. Mr. Kane was their sports teacher. Can I have your attention, please? He announced to the class. Today we'll be playing a game called Cockroach Flying Ball. But firstly, I'm going to choose 2 captains. Looking around, he stared at each of the little cockroaches thoughtfully and then finally said, Will Clarabelle and Clovis come out to the front, please? Come on, Clovis, don't dawdle. Hurry up. Good. Finally, you're both up here. Now, both of you will need to choose your team members, but before you do, I'll just quickly explain the object of the game to everyone, said Mr. Kane as he directed his attention back to the class. Each team is required to hit the ball over the net with their wing to score a point. If you miss the ball, the point goes to the other team. Does everyone understand how to play the game? Yes, Mr. Kane, the class replied. Good. Now I'd like Clarabelle and Clovis to call out the names of their team members. When you hear your name being called, quickly go and join your captain, please. Each little cockroaches heard their name being called out, except for Cara. She waited and waited for her name to be called, but it never was. Nobody wanted her to join their team. Cara was left standing all by herself. She felt very embarrassed and uncomfortable. Just then Clarabelle turned to stare at Cara. Scott, you can be on my team. She scoffed, puzzled. Cara looked at Clarabelle and said, But my name is not Scott, it's Cara. Clarabelle burst out laughing along with everyone else in the class. Scott no mates, she squealed, unable to stop giggling. Cara's face suddenly turned red from embarrassment. She didn't like it when others made fun of her. She didn't like being the target of their jokes. She didn't like being put in a situation that made her feel very awkward and uncomfortable, and it made Cara realise how her classmates must feel when she played pranks on them all the time. Feeling very sad and lonely, Cara just stared at the ground, avoiding eye contact with everyone, trying desperately to hold back her tears. As Cara walked over to join Clarabelle's team, she heard someone whisper, "Why does Cara have to be on our team?" But she pretended not to hear. By now, Cara was extremely upset, but she tried really hard not to show it. It was during these times that Cara really wished that she had some friends. She didn't like being left out all the time. She didn't like being excluded from the group. She didn't like playing by herself every recess and lunchtime. If only I had not played so many pranks on my classmates, the others would have wanted me to join their team, she thought to herself as a single tear trickled down her cheek. Chapter 14. VIC. The last session of the day was Cara's favourite. It was acknowledging the VIC, very important cockroach, of the week. This time it was Cara's turn. She was very excited. Cara wondered what words her classmates would use to describe her. Last week, when Clem was very important cockroach of the week, he was described as being kind, caring, helpful, handsome, fun, and clever. Cara couldn't wait for her description. "All right, everyone, I would like all eyes on me, please," called out Mrs. Cornelia as she addressed the class. "The new VIS for this week is Cara." "Oh, no!" exclaimed Clarabelle, whilst the rest of the class ground. "Quiet!" shouted Mrs. Cornelia sternly to the class. "Now I'd like everyone to think of some positive words that describe what Cara is like at school," she continued. "I'll write them down on the board as you call them out. And remember, I'm looking for positive words only," she reminded. The class went totally silent. The students just stared at each other and shrugged their wings. "Come on, little cockroaches. Let's make a start, shall we? Who can think of some positive words that describe Cara?" urged Mrs. Cornelia. Suddenly Clovis put up his wing. "Yes, Clovis," said Mrs. Cornelia, smiling. She was really happy that someone had actually thought of a word. "Well, when she broke off my antenna, the doctor said that it will grow back, so that's something positive, I guess." Mrs. Cornelia frowned at Clovis. "Does anyone else have any sensible words that they'd like to contribute?" she asked the class. "Ooh, I do," exclaimed Colin, putting up his wing, "when she split her drink all over me." "It did actually taste quite good," he said. Mrs. Cornelia frowned again and shook her head. "I have something to contribute," Clem called out. "Just the other day, Cara tried to push me into a spider web, but missed." Mrs. Cornelia sighed. "Any other positive words?" she asked, ignoring the comments. "Ooh, I know," Clarabelle exclaimed, putting up her wing. "Cara was away from school on Friday. That's something positive." All of the little cockroaches in the class giggled, except for Cara, who was becoming visibly upset by all of the negative comments that were being directed at her. "All right, that's quite enough, everyone. I'll have to think of some positive words myself then. Now let's see. Cara is, she's, pretty. Yes, that's a positive word that describes Cara," said Mrs. Cornelia, who was very pleased with herself for actually being able to think of something positive to say about Cara. More like be pretty mean, retorted Clem loudly. Clem, that's quite enough, said Mrs. Cornelia. Now, what other special qualities does Cara possess? She continued. Oh no, I've forgotten the word that I'm previously thought of. It's on the tip of my tongue. Oh, what was it? Let me think. Oh yes, I remember. Cara is assertive. Great! Now we've got 2 words written on the board that describe Cara. We are going really well, aren't we, class? Beamed Mrs. Cornelia. You mean attention-seeking? Called out Clarabelle. All of the little cockroaches in the class giggled, including Clarabelle, who always laughed at her own jokes. Right, everyone, just stop, please. That's quite enough, responded Mrs. Cornelia. I'm accepting positive words only, she said sternly. Cara saw that both her classmates and teachers were really struggling to think of nice things to say about her. Cara felt absolutely terrible. She tried really hard to hold back her tears and was relieved when the bell rang for home time. Cara ran out of the classroom as quickly as she could and didn't stop running until she arrived home. Cara desperately wanted to change her behaviour, but it made her so happy when all the little cockroaches in her class always laughed at her jokes. She scuttled into her bedroom and closed the door behind her. Cara didn't want to talk to anybody. What she really needed right now was to spend some time alone to process the awful and upsetting events that had occurred during the course of the day. Cara had not realised just how much the other little cockroaches at school actually disliked her. Until today, it made her feel very sad and lonely. She was finally starting to see the impact that her silly practical jokes were having on herself and the little cockroaches in her class. Her bad behaviour and poor choice had indeed made her the least popular little cockroach at school, and she was now beginning to finally understand how the students in her class actually felt when she played practical jokes on them, or insulted them for that matter. As Cara was getting ready for bed, she decided that it was time for her to really make an effort to improve her behaviour at school. She would stop trying to be the class clown all the time and said to herself, oh, well, I can always be on my best behaviour at school tomorrow. But when she thought about the practical jokes that she had played on her teacher and classmates at school today whilst climbing into bed, Cara began to giggle, remembering the sight of her classmates and teacher being covered in thick red sauce during her school excursion, and the look on their faces when they first got sprayed by the sprinkler was priceless. Cara burst out laughing. But by being the class clown at school, it somehow made Cara feel as though she really was popular, even though in her heart she knew that no one really liked her, no one at all. And Cara couldn't seem to understand why nobody wanted to be her friend when she was only playing pranks on them. Cara, it's late. Why are you laughing? What's so funny? Inquired Mr. Cockroach as he entered her room. You should have been asleep already. You'll be tired and grumpy in the morning if you don't go to sleep soon, he said. I'm sorry, Dad. I'll go to sleep now. I promise. See? Replied Cara as she closed her eyes, pretending to be asleep. Good. Now remember, I do not want to hear one more peep out of you, said Mr. Cockroach as he left the room.